Kia ora. I think my submission is pretty straightforward. It only covers 21 paragraphs. But just been listening to the other submitters, I think there's a hell of a lot of common ground between the submitters and what I'm saying. I think to start with, I'd just say that this proposal has a massive uncertainty and opportunity for gaming our democracy in terms of not knowing whether there's going to be a 3 or 4 year term parliament until after a government is formed. The other important point I make, which is made quite a bit, is that the appropriate term of government is part of a package of checks and balances. It's not something that can be considered in isolation. And I make in paragraph 21, I identify a number of the sort of measures that I would expect should be in place if we are to have a referendum on the changing from a 3-year term. The final comment I'll just make is just a brief comment on the perceived inadequacy of a 3-year term, which we have had for over 140 years. Is the 3-year term has not been a barrier to competent government, but it has been a problem for ill-prepared, incompetent and devious governments.
Right, on that note, we'll go to questions. Anyone got questions? Right, Mr. Bates.
Thanks very much. Have you got any examples of the latter point that you're making regarding where it has been a problem?
Yeah, this current coalition government. It's devious, it's undemocratic. Well, the pay equity is just the prime example. You know, I won't go into all the ones where I've put in submissions and my wife's put in submissions and the submissions haven't even been recorded yet.
Well, I'm glad we've got you here today. Have we got any other questions for Mr. Wiltshire? Mr. Riddell? Ms. Celia Wade-Brown.
Thank you. Kia ora, Andrew. I was really interested in how we might progress some of the questions that have arisen during submissions to this bill that are much bigger than a slightly strange bill that might be about a 3 or 4 year term or might be actually about something else. How can we actually go forward? Thank you, Rena. If not through this select, if we come to the end of this select committee process, and I'm not sure which way it will go, but it might be quite likely to say, no, we're not going to go any further with this bill.
Yeah, so where do you go? Well, I think there are a number of, or 2 primary reports on the electoral system, which are sitting around the Independent Electoral Commission, which gave their report on November the 30th, 2023, that has been sat on by the Minister of Justice. And then there's another one via the Select Committee that did the electoral report. So there's two starting points for a general conversation or a inquiry, some sort of way of getting those recommendations accepted or not accepted and as necessary passed ahead of any referendum would be my any referendum on a 3 or a 4 year term would be my preference because I'm very concerned about limits on donations and lobbying, which don't exist now or are very ineffectual.
All right. Hey, thank you very much, Mr. Riddell. Useful submission, and glad you've had the opportunity to talk with the committee today.
Thank you.
All right. So now we move to Rachel Wiltshire.
Thanks, Andrew. That was great. I loved that. I took the time to open up the regulatory impact statement as well, and I've checked that in the chat if people want to look at it for themselves. That this RIS has RIS. So yeah, definitely do click on that and have a look at it while the people are talking, because you can find out what the concerns are around this type of legislation are, and it's just a great way to inform yourself about bills. So I highly recommend that. Ray, what did you think of Andrew's submission?
You've got to look at the government as a package. This proposal of 4-year term has uncertainty, and historically many have been unsatisfied with a 3-term government. I thought it was very, very to the point, and he acknowledges the previous speakers. In the case of the current configuration, it has led to deviance, which is a multifaceted term.
I think it's really interesting going through the regulatory impact statement, and I've just scrolled down, guys, to page 3, if you want to follow along. But the Ministry of Justice doesn't have a formal position on whether the term of Parliament should be 3 or 4 years. I think that is pretty interesting, that they don't have a solid position. It's just like, okay, we'll just leave it up to the public. Limitations and constraints on analysis. Yeah, so they're pretty. So okay, my memory is working. So they said that there is limited evidence and research generally on how the maximum length of a term Parliament impacts on decision-making, legislation, public engagement, parliamentary scrutiny. I agree with that. I have looked in the past for evidence that would support a 4-year term. I haven't really found anything that supports that, because what could potentially happen is you get your 4-year term, right? And you get another coalition situation where bang, you've got all these policies coming in under urgency. They're just using the extra year to cram more shit in, and give people less time to consult on it. So, without having the strong checks and balances, right, there is still room for abuse, whether you've got a 3-year or 4-year term. So very, very important. You got to have that.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
because if you go back to what Raymond Horam was saying, same thing. Like, is it do you? So it's like a coordination or trust. Like, do we trust that we can coordinate?
Mhm.
Does it going to take 12 months to be organized, or can you get things done in 6 months?
Yeah.
Doesn't always need to be 4 years, but
Yeah, I mean, getting
we're
an
just
extra
trying
year.
to be more accountable.
Yeah, I mean, well, Stacey Gate. Did she almost trip over the cat? I saw that.
I have my breakfast, lunch.
Oh, very nice. Is that a potato salad that I see there?
No, we've got gourmet noodle.
Oh, lovely. You got eggies and you got mushrooms and you got some tomatoes.
Egos, mushroom.
Yummers. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. That's ADHD for you folks. But yes, Andrew, thank you so much for your submission. That was great. It passed the vibe check.